My name is Rachel Carter, and when my sister's company went up for sale, the last person she expected to see holding the contract was me. For years, she had laughed at my business. At family dinners, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Oh, Rachel's little garage project? That's cute." To everyone else, she was the golden child, Lauren Carter, CEO, glamorous, the woman who made it. And me? I was the afterthought, the startup dreamer, the sibling who never quite figured life out. They never knew how many nights I spent working until sunrise. They never asked how I built my client list from nothing. They never cared that while they toasted Lauren's every milestone, I was laying the foundation for something they couldn't even imagine. So when Lauren's company hit financial trouble, she thought she was being saved by an anonymous investor. She threw a grand party at the Belmont Hotel ballroom. Chandeliers glittered, champagne flowed. She smiled wide, thinking she was days away from a new chapter. She didn't know the new chapter was mine. She didn't know I was the investor. And when I walked onto that stage, holding the purchase agreement, the entire room froze. Even Lauren, always so composed, dropped her glass. The crash echoed louder than any applause ever had. "Rachel, what are you doing?" she barely managed to whisper. I smiled. "Securing my business, Lauren, and yours, since no one else would." That night, I wasn't the forgotten sister. I was the woman who rewrote the ending. Most people think family is supposed to be your safe place, your cheerleaders, the people who believe in you when nobody else does. But my family, they were my biggest skeptics. My name is Rachel Carter, and for as long as I can remember, I was the sister who never measured up. To them, success looked like my older sister Lauren. She was everything they admired, polished, confident. The CEO of Carter Luxe, a trendy online fashion brand that everyone in our town knew. By the time she turned 30, Lauren was already being featured in local magazines. The face of modern entrepreneurship. Young visionary. Mom and Dad framed every article. They quoted her at holiday dinners like she was some kind of prophet. And me? I was Rachel with her little side project. What they called a side project was actually my startup, a small but growing logistics platform helping local businesses manage inventory and shipping. But because I didn't have glossy ads or influencers posting about me, they thought it was a hobby. Lauren never missed a chance to remind me. "How's the garage empire coming along?" She'd smirk at family gatherings. "Still working out of that dusty little office?" Laughter would follow. Not cruel, just dismissive. That was worse. They didn't hate me. They didn't fight me. They just didn't believe in me. And in their eyes, that was almost kinder, because they thought I'd eventually give up and get a real job. At Christmas, when Lauren gifted designer handbags to Mom and Dad, I offered to cover their property tax bill as my present. Mom blinked. "That's nice, dear, but you really should let your sister help with big expenses." She didn't understand. Paying that bill took weeks of revenue from my company. But it didn't matter. In their world, expensive meant impressive. Quiet responsibility meant failure. Even my friends advised me to stop expecting recognition. "Rachel, families don't always get it. You'll prove yourself in time." That was easy for them to say. They didn't have to sit at Thanksgiving while relatives toasted Lauren's amazing growth and forgot to even ask what I was working on. They didn't hear the subtle digs. "Startups are risky. Maybe you should apply for something stable. Lauren can't hire you, can she? Just until you figure things out?" No one ever asked if I wanted to work for Lauren. I didn't. Not because of pride, but because I believed in my idea, even if no one else did. And so, year after year, I smiled. I swallowed the doubts. I nodded politely at every backhanded compliment. And I kept building. In silence, in the shadows, where no one thought to look. They say success is loud, but for me, it was silent. No headlines, no applause, just progress. While Lauren's company flooded social media with influencers and glossy ad campaigns, I built relationships quietly, small businesses, local shops. They didn't want flash, they wanted reliability, and that's what I gave them. By my third year, my little garage project had turned into a fully functional logistics platform called Streamline. We handled order management, warehousing, and shipping for over 100 clients. At first, it was just my laptop and a second-hand desk in the corner of my apartment. Then, I hired my first employee, Jordan, who used to manage a warehouse for a national retailer. By year 4, I signed my first six-figure contract with a regional chain of boutiques. No press release, no LinkedIn announcement, just steady growth. But at home, none of that mattered. "So, still doing the delivery app thing?" Dad asked at Easter. "It's not an app, Dad, it's a logistics platform," I corrected gently. Lauren smiled across the table. "Oh, don't bore him with tech talk, Rach. He's just proud you have a hobby." The word stung. Hobby. Never mind that I was negotiating contracts bigger than some of Lauren's wholesale deals. Never mind that I was turning a profit without outside funding. To them, it was still my garage empire. Even when I paid off my student loans early, they brushed it aside. "Lauren's company hit 1 million in sales this year," Mom announced at Thanksgiving. Maybe you should ask her for advice on scaling up." I bit my tongue. They didn't know that Carter Lux's profit margins were razor thin. I had seen their financials, publicly available through some online filings. Lauren was growing, yes, but she was burning cash fast. "Don't take it personally," my best friend Elena said one night. "They just don't get what you're doing." We sat at our favorite coffee shop, laptops open, catching up between work crises. "But they get what Lauren's doing?" I asked. "They celebrate it. They throw parties for it." "Because it looks successful," Elena replied. "You don't. Not yet." She wasn't being mean. She was being honest, and she was right. So I kept my head down. I reinvested every dollar back into Streamline. I upgraded my technology, expanded my warehouse space, hired 2 more employees, Maya Lewis for customer operations and Elliot Parker for logistics strategy. We weren't flashy, we weren't loud, but we were stable, profitable, growing. Meanwhile, Lauren's Carter Luxe opened a flagship pop-up in the city, billboards, social media blitz, paid partnerships. "We just secured an angel investor," she bragged at Grandma's birthday dinner. "It's going to take us to the next level." Mom clapped. Dad beamed. "Rachel, maybe you should consider getting an investor too," Lauren added sweetly. "Or sell, before the market gets too competitive." "Sell? Sell the company I built from scratch?" I smiled politely. "I'm not looking to sell." "That's cute," she replied, sipping her champagne. "Passion projects are fun while they last." They had no idea, none of them did. That Streamline wasn't just lasting, it was preparing for something much, much bigger. And soon. Lauren's company would need help. But I wouldn't just help. I would save her and own the business she thought I could never understand. By the start of year 5, things started changing. Not for me, for Lauren. Carter Luxe had expanded too fast, too much overhead, too many high-profile influencer contracts, and trends, they changed quicker than Lauren could pivot. I noticed small signs first. At a family brunch, Mom mentioned that Lauren had downsized her staff. "It's just smart business," Lauren said, brushing it off. "We're streamlining. Lean is the new luxury." But I knew better. Companies only streamline staff when cash flow dries up. A month later, I got a LinkedIn notification. Carter Luxe was seeking a senior operations manager. Strange. They had let go of half their team, yet they were hiring senior roles. That's a classic sign of restructuring, or desperate investors trying to fix internal chaos. Then, at Aunt Teresa's anniversary party, I overheard Lauren talking to her husband in hushed tones. "If we don't find a new backer soon, we'll have to sell off the spring collection inventory." Her voice cracked slightly. That was not the Lauren Carter everyone knew. Not the confident, composed CEO who always had a solution. That was my sister on the edge. Meanwhile, Streamline was thriving. I had signed 3 new regional clients and was in talks with 2 national chains. Our monthly recurring revenue, MRR, surpassed projections for the 4th straight quarter. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was scaling, and I had an idea. Elena was the first person I told. "I think it's time to consider outside capital," I said over coffee. "You've never wanted investors before," she pointed out. I know, but this isn't about just scaling Streamline. It's about protecting what I've built and maybe helping someone who won't admit they need it. Lauren? I nodded. If she takes money from strangers, she'll lose control of Carter Lux completely. If I get in quietly, I can keep her afloat, without the family knowing. Elena leaned back, impressed. That's bold and smart. Who's the investor? I have a few in mind. Quiet partners, ones who don't need public credit. I started making calls. One call stood out. Pinebrook Growth Partners, a private equity firm specializing in retail and logistics companies. I knew the senior partner from my early consulting days, someone who respected discretion. We've been watching Streamline, he told me. Your growth is impressive, and we'd be interested in a joint venture. Good, because I'm looking for more than just funding. I want to lead an acquisition, a controlling interest in Carter Lux. Silence. Then, we can arrange that. Quietly, if you're sure. I've never been more sure. While the firm began due diligence, Lauren remained oblivious. At Grandma's 85th birthday, she arrived late, phone pressed to her ear. No, I said I can't delay supplier payments another month. That'll kill our next launch. She ended the call with a forced smile. Sorry, business never sleeps. She barely looked at me, but Mom did. Your sister's working so hard. Maybe you could help her somehow, Rachel. You know, do the tech stuff. I smiled. I am helping. They didn't understand. And they wouldn't, not until it was too late to ignore me. By fall, Pinebrook confirmed the deal. They would invest in both Streamline's expansion and purchase a controlling stake in Carter Lux. Lauren had unknowingly shopped around for investors, and Pinebrook's offer, the highest and quietest, had been accepted. The paperwork was nearly complete. All it needed was one final signature. Mine. I stood in my office one evening, watching the city lights blur against the glass. Jordan, Maya, and Elliot had gone home hours ago. Elena texted, "Ready for tomorrow?" "More than ready," I typed back. "It's time. Time to step out of the shadows. Time to show them who I had become. Not for revenge, not to humiliate, but because this was what leaders did. It happened 2 nights before the signing. I wasn't planning to go. Not to another family gathering. Not to another round of polite dismissal wrapped in paper-thin smiles. But it was Dad's birthday, and Elena had said, "Sometimes closure comes in quiet ways, Rach. You don't have to make noise to end a story." So I went. The Carter house was buzzing when I arrived. Streamers, balloons, finger foods laid out on silver trays. Lauren, of course, commanded the room, wearing a tailored black jumpsuit, champagne flute in hand, laughing like nothing in the world could touch her. "Rachel," Mom called from across the kitchen, "come say hi to your sister's new investor contact. You could learn a thing or two." I bit back a smile. If only they knew. Lauren turned, spotting me. Her face lit up, that fake, stretched too thin smile she reserved for distant acquaintances. "Rach, you made it. How's the garage business?" There it was again. The casual swipe, the reminder that in her eyes I would always be small. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice light, "we just expanded to a second warehouse." Mom blinked like I had spoken another language. Lauren laughed, tossing her hair. "That's cute. Good for you, little sis. Maybe one day you'll hit 6 figures like the big leagues." The room chuckled politely. Not mean-spirited, just dismissive, as always. And then, the moment that sealed everything. Lauren clinked her glass, calling for attention. "Before we toast to Dad, I just want to say, family is everything. Some of us build businesses people actually notice." She shot me a pointed look, earning scattered laughter. "But hey, even side hustles need love, right?" I stood there, the sting sharp and immediate, not because of the words, but because I realized in that instant they would never see me, no matter what I built, no matter how far I climbed. To them, I would always be Rachel with her little projects, Rachel the dreamer, Rachel the backup plan. And for the first time, I didn't feel sad about it. I felt free. Because once you accept that some people will never recognize your worth, you stop waiting for their approval. I excused myself quietly, left the party before the cake was even cut. Outside, the cold night air bit into my skin, sharper and cleaner than anything inside that house. I pulled out my phone and texted Elena. Confirm everything. I'm signing tomorrow. Her reply was instant. It's ready. Bring a pen. I smiled. For the first time in years, it wasn't forced. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about finally choosing myself. Tomorrow, Carter Lux would belong to Pinebrook Growth Partners, and through them, to me. And Lauren? She would finally learn that the sister she spent years mocking was the one who now held the future of her company in her hands. The Belmont Hotel ballroom glittered like a dream. Golden chandeliers, white roses in tall crystal vases, hundreds of people dressed in black tie elegance, sipping champagne beneath vaulted ceilings. Tonight wasn't supposed to be about me. It was Lauren's big moment. She was announcing her new angel investor, the partner who had saved Carter Lux from financial collapse. Only, she didn't know who that partner really was. Yet. Rachel, are you sure about this? Elena asked as we stood near the entrance. Once you walk up there, there's no turning back. I'm sure, I replied, smoothing the front of my navy silk dress. This isn't about revenge. It's about protecting what I built and helping her, whether she wants it or not. She won't thank you, Elena warned gently. She doesn't have to. The crowd hushed as Lauren took the stage. Spotlights bathed her in soft gold. She looked every inch the powerhouse CEO. Confident smile, perfect posture, flawless black gown. Thank you all for coming, she began. Tonight marks a new era for Carter Lux. Thanks to the incredible support of a visionary investor, we're not just surviving, we're expanding, scaling into national markets, launching 3 new collections. Applause, cheers. Dad beamed. Mom wiped a tear. This investor believes in us, Lauren continued. They understand our brand, our mission, our family. She gestured toward the side of the stage. Please welcome our partner. The crowd turned expectantly. A tall man from Pinebrook Growth Partners stepped forward first, the firm's public face. He shook Lauren's hand. We're thrilled to support Carter Lux's future, he said, and the person leading this acquisition couldn't be more committed to this brand. Lauren smiled wide. Mom clapped furiously. Dad nodded with pride. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pinebrook partner continued, please welcome the new principal owner of Carter Lux. He paused. Rachel Carter. Silence. The entire ballroom seemed to exhale at once. All eyes turned to me. Lauren's smile froze. Her glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered against the marble floor. What? She whispered. That's not funny. But it wasn't a joke. I stepped forward, heart pounding, but face calm. It's true, the Pinebrook partner confirmed. Ms. Carter executed the final agreement this morning. She now holds the controlling interest in Carter Lux. The room erupted in gasps and hurried whispers. Lauren stumbled back a step. No, this is a mistake. You can't, you don't have that kind of money. Her voice rose in pitch, desperation cracking her polished facade. It's not about the money, I said gently. It's about strategy. I partnered with Pinebrook months ago. We've been negotiating to acquire struggling retail brands with growth potential. Struggling? Lauren repeated, her face pale. Lauren, I continued, I knew you were in trouble. I tried to help quietly. You didn't want to hear it. So I found another way. Mom stepped forward, clutching Dad's arm. Rachel, this isn't funny. Your sister's company is her life. I know, I said. That's why I made sure it wouldn't fall into the hands of outside investors who would gut it for profit. You went behind our backs, Dad growled. Number Y stepped up when no one else would. I turned back to Lauren. I didn't do this to humiliate you. I did it to preserve what you built, your staff, your brand, your reputation. You bought my company, she whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. After all these years of being dismissed, yes. The murmurs in the room swelled. Some guests nodded approvingly. Others looked uncomfortable, but no one laughed at me anymore. Not even Lauren. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Finally, she said, "What happens now?" "Now," I replied calmly, "we work together. Or you walk away. But either way, Carter Lux continues, and so do I." Elena appeared at my side, handing me a folder. The official transition documents. "Your move, Lauren," I said quietly. Lauren took the folder with trembling hands. For the first time in years, I wasn't the little sister trying to prove herself. I was the woman who had just rewritten the ending to our story. The ballroom was too quiet. Even the music had faded into an awkward, strained hush. Lauren stood frozen, clutching the folder against her chest. Her confident facade had crumbled completely. You planned this," she whispered, "all along. You let me mock you. You let Mom and Dad treat you like I didn't matter," I finished softly. "Yes, I let you, because I wanted to believe that family could be more than just approval or applause." I glanced toward Mom and Dad. They both looked stunned, as if the floor had been ripped out from under them. "Rachel, why didn't you come to us about this?" Mom asked finally. "I did," I replied calmly. "In my own way. But every time I shared a milestone, you changed the subject. Every time I offered help, you called it a hobby. And when Lauren's company started sinking, no one wanted to hear the truth." Dad opened his mouth, then shut it again. For once, he had nothing to say. Lauren's hands trembled. "So what now?" she asked. "Are you going to fire me? Kick me out? Is that the plan? A big public power play to embarrass me?" "No." I shook my head. "You can stay on. I want you to stay, because Carter Lux is your vision. But from now on, you'll be accountable to the business, not just to the family name. No more risky spending, no more influencer deals that drain profits. Real leadership, real growth. And if I say no, then you walk away, and someone else will take your place." Lauren's eyes burned with anger, but beneath that, fear. She wasn't just angry at me. She was angry at herself, because deep down, she knew I was right. And that was a heavier blow than any public humiliation. From the back of the room, someone started clapping. It was Jordan, my first employee, then Maya, then Elliot. My entire Streamline team had come, quietly standing near the entrance. Their applause grew, spreading through the room. Not everyone joined in. Some guests averted their eyes, but enough clapped to make a statement. The forgotten sister was forgotten no longer. Lauren's shoulders sagged. I'll stay, if you'll have me." "Good," I said simply. "Then we start tomorrow. No more pretending. No more hiding the numbers. No more jokes at my expense." She nodded, biting her lip hard. Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I didn't think you'd ever forgive me." "I'm not sure I do. But this isn't about forgiveness. It's about doing what's right, for the company, for the people who depend on it." Mom wiped her eyes. "Rachel, I'm sorry. We should have—" "Stop." I raised a hand gently. "We can talk later. Right now, we have work to do." I didn't need their validation anymore. I had already validated myself. As the applause faded, I stepped down from the stage. Elena squeezed my hand, pride shining in her eyes. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I corrected softly. "We did. And tomorrow, we do even more." The next morning, I arrived at Carter Lux's office before sunrise. The air was crisp. A quiet stillness blanketed the city. It felt like the world itself was pausing, waiting. Lauren arrived 30 minutes later. No entourage, no designer handbag. Just her, hair pulled back, eyes tired but determined. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," I replied. She hesitated. I cleared my schedule. "Whatever changes you want to make. I'm ready." "Good. First change. We work as a team. No more secrets. No more spending sprees. You'll meet Jordan, Maya, and Elliot today. They'll help stabilize logistics and budgeting." Lauren nodded. "I'm ready to learn." For the first time, it wasn't a line for show. It was real. By noon, the transition meetings began. Our staff gathered in the main conference room. Some faces were wary, others were hopeful. I introduced my team, outlined the stabilization plan, and shared our 6-month roadmap. "We're not here to erase what Carter Lux was," I told them. "We're here to rebuild it into what it can be." As the day unfolded, the atmosphere shifted, less tension, more focus. Even Lauren seemed lighter. She listened, she took notes. No more dismissive jokes, no more smug smiles. For the first time, she was treating me like an equal. That evening, as I gathered my things, my phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "We're proud of you. Dinner this weekend? Let's talk. Really talk." I stared at the screen. 2 years ago, I would have dropped everything for that text. 2 years ago, I would have taken it as validation. But now? Now, I didn't need it. I typed back, "Thank you. But this weekend, I have other priorities, the business and myself." I hit send without hesitation. As I left the office, the sun was setting. The city glowed with amber light. Elena waited by the front steps. "So, how does it feel to own the company that once laughed at you?" "It doesn't feel like ownership," I said. "It feels like responsibility and freedom." She smiled. "They underestimated you for so long." "They did," I agreed. "But I never underestimated myself. That's what matters." We stood in silence for a moment, watching the lights flicker on across the skyline. "What's next?" Elena asked. "Growth. For the company, for me, and this time, on my terms." I walked away from the building, not as the forgotten sister, but as the leader I had always been, even when no one was watching. And I knew, whatever came next, I was ready.